Hi, this is Sam Falls, and I'm going to attempt to answer a couple questions here. Specifically, the first being, how was this work of mine born? And this type of work came out of, the original kind of conceptual agenda to work with nature and time and space to sort of address how to create an artwork that is a primary source to experience. So in the beginning, I was working largely with sunlight and non-photographic materials like fabric and paper and metal, and leaving them outside for months to years to change in the sunlight and sort of absorb the environment. And moving from New York to Los Angeles to have, a greater time with the sun in the winter when it started to rain, I was kind of stuck figuring out how to deal with that. Ended up using these special pigments to deal with the moisture in the air and fog and rain, and started working with plants primarily to describe a place using the local flora and native plants that could depict the landscape. And then it evolved over time into not just the specific locations, but inspirations. And a lot of this came out of looking at Renaissance paintings and the botanical sciences of the time that got intermixed with both like the arts as well as early semiotics and linguistics, and how symbolism grew out of not just like readings of religious texts, but I guess evolved into poetry and use in painting. Specifically here in this painting, I was looking at different paintings of the Annunciation where Gabriel comes with a flower, a white iris to represent purity. And I was looking at Angelico's painting the Annunciation that's in Florence, and thinking about how to not only mix it with my interpretation of nature, but also more contemporary roles of gender, so switching it to maybe a more feminine Gabriel or a different person in general, and also changing the iris to a red rose from my own garden. And the red rose has its own connotations, which sort of often conflict with the iris. And the second question is my relationship or interpretation of resonance. And it's actually a word that I feel like I have a strong relationship to. Obviously, it can mean the prolonging of a sound or a feeling or something sensory through kind of an echoing or reflection. And I think art is one of the best types of resonances between different artists over space and over time, which in this exhibition is fantastic to have both of those elements being resonated between the different artists from disparate locations and times. I guess I could say, the closeness of my relationship to the word is I did this project called Resonance. It's in a book of that title, where in 2013, my god brother, it was like my best friend I grew up with, and I went around the state of California to all its different national parks, putting wind chimes that I had made out of raw steel and copper in the middle of the forests where no one else would find them, but maybe they would hear them. They were miles away from the trails, but there's a chance the sound could be heard by hikers. And we left them there for a year, and the idea also being that these raw metals would oxidize and rust over the course of a year. So they all started with the exact same sound, but the one closer to the ocean in Big Sur, for example, would oxidize a lot, and the one in the desert, Joshua Tree, wouldn't change much. And the idea was the resonance between these natural settings and the sounds. But also, Jamie, my god brother, passed away right before we were supposed to go collect them together a year later, and so it was kind of the most emotional trip of my life, going back alone to all these places to collect the wind chimes where I'd gone with him, and I left one in the redwoods to sort of continue resonating forever for him and me together.